Steve Malmgren here once again for some more Customizer. Today we're going to take a look at link dialogues. We briefly touched on these in an earlier session with the survey dialog, but I want to just kind of cover this link settings tab and what we have here. The first one here, DDE, stands for Dynamic Data Exchange. Back when Customizer was first implemented for the legacy modules, this was a way of passing data between applications, so you could use Word and Excel and mail merge. DDE is really no longer a technology that's in vogue. It does still work. So if you've got some scripts that are running DDE, they continue to work, but we're really not going to get into that today. The next one we have here is dialog, and that's what we use to set up that survey tab or survey form. So, and that's just a standard MAS200 dialog. So one of the questions I have is there any really difference between adding a button for a dialog or adding a new tab? And there's really not. It's really just user preference. It's got the same functionality, just a way to get some more real estate. So just keep in mind, this dialog is a MAS200 pop-up window where you can put additional user-defined fields or standard MAS200 fields, for that matter, in the business framework on the form behind a button. Image and multimedia, what those are, those were a way to basically easily display an image or some type of AVI movie in the multimedia based on a naming convention. I will say that one thing that we found when preparing these demos is that it works better with the legacy modules. So essentially what happens when you do one of these image things, you give it a file name, and you can write a script, a one-line script that takes the value of one of these fields. So if you have a file naming convention that's like a PDF that's got the division plus customer plus something else that maybe like contract, you can go ahead and set that up, and it'll just kind of automatically display when you hit that button. There's some issues with the business framework and these fields that you see here, and there are ways to get around them, but quite honestly, we're just going to go ahead and fix those so that they work properly. And maybe we'll cover that in a different session, but there's ways to display images and multimedia within the MS scripting. So that's where we're going to spend the bulk of our time in this session, is the MS scripting. In any external program, so I could type in winword.exe, and that would launch Word from this button. So that's an external program. But the other thing you can do here is take any MAS200 task, or virtually any MAS200 task, and place it right on the form. So if I'm in customer and I want to, I don't know, launch just the customer sales history report from this button, it's not going to pass any context in or anything, but it'll just launch that task. So if there's some common tasks that your users need to access while they're in their main data entry form, you can go and add a button so they can jump right to it without going back to the menu. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and delete that. Anyway, just to kind of review this, and then that's where I put in all my UDF. So at this point, this is just another form. So once again, that's the dialog. So I'm going to jump over to sales order, and we're going to do a little demo script here. So I'm going to use my form map and get over to the totals panel. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a link button, and I'm going to call it check promotions. And we'll go ahead and give it a bitmap. See what looks good here. Another check mark. That looks good. Okay, so go over to my options, make it a little higher so I can see all the text. There we go. Okay, so on the link settings, I'm going to say this is going to be an MS script. So this uses the Microsoft scripting host engine. And I have a choice of languages. I can use Visual Basic Script, JavaScript, or Providix Script. We're gonna go ahead and use Visual Basic Script. And then it's going to ask me for a file name. But first what I'm going to do is let's cover the variables. So if I clicked on this button here, select variables to be passed to script, this is where I tell the customizer basically which fields I need access to. So for this demonstration, what we're going to do is say if I give a 10% discount, and I also want to give them free freight. So in order to do that, what I need to do is take my non-taxable amount and my taxable amount. And then I also need my discount percentage, discount rate actually, and a freight amount. Okay, so basically I'm going to take a look at what's in my taxable plus non-taxable and evaluate that, and based on that set my discount and freight amount. So those are the 4 variables that I need, but you can see I've got access to every field in the sales order header table. Now if you're doing this from the Lines tab, you'd also have accessibility to the sales order detail business object, which has all the item information. Okay, so I'm going to hit OK here. And you can see that these are display-only fields, so I cannot modify the non-taxable and taxable amount. Those are calculated by the system. So those are grayed out. I can't return them. But I am going to want to return the discount and freight amount. So so the next thing you see down here is, and this is for MAS200 only, whether or not you want to execute the script on the client or the server. So even when you're doing these at your office, let's say you're always you're doing these in your office on a MAS200 system, you can still say that you wanted to execute the script on the server. So when you deploy it to your customer, if they're running a 200, it'll run on the server. So a couple things to keep in mind. If you're doing any type of user interface client, otherwise what's going to happen is that message box or input prompt is going to pop up on the server and the client's just going to be hanging sitting there. So that's something to keep in mind. Another thing is when we get into some of the examples where we're showing some documents like a contract or whatever, the path of the document is relative to either the client or the server. So if you're on the server, C: is relative to the server. If you're on the client, it's relative to the client. So those are a couple of things to keep in mind when you're looking at where you want this to run. I'm just going to go ahead and leave it on the client. So I also have this option over here to copy my variables to the clipboard, which will be useful for when I'm coding up my script. So I'm just going to hit that button, and that just basically puts those out to the clipboard. And then what I'm going to do is just click my Edit Script button. And so I could have, by the way, just opened up this file, browse, and gone to an existing script if I had already written it, or just hitting the Edit Script will make up a script name, usually called the link plus 001.txt. But anyway, this is my script editor. So I'm going to go ahead and paste into this. And what this does is gives me my variables that I've asked for, so it's much easier to cut and paste those so I don't have to worry about making a typo and having my script blow up on me. And this also gives me some system variables that are available to me. So I've got the current company code, user code, module code, etc., all the way down. This CS flag indicates whether or not the script is running on the client or the server. And then this is an interesting one here, this mass screen debug. If you set this equal to 1, and we'll go ahead and do that, what this tells the script engine to do, a little dialog, a debug dialog, and it'll show you all the variables coming in, and well, we'll take a look at it. So I'm just going to start coding up my script. So I'm just going to say if, and I'm going to take my taxable amount, non-taxable amount, plus my taxable amount is greater than 1,000, then I'm going to set my discount rate equal to 10, because I want a 10% discount. And then I want to set my freight amount to 0. So a little helpful hint, if you just set it to 0 like that when it returns. So what you need to do in this case is use, I go out to 6 precision. As long as it's non-zero, and even though I got out this, even though I've got 6 decimal places here, because we're only storing in the tables, the freight amount stuff only go out to 2 decimal places. So this will actually get saved out in the file as 0, but this will, by placing these out to this precision, it's telling Customizer to actually set that value. Anyway, then I do my end if, and that's a really simple script, so we'll just go ahead and save that, and let's go check it out and run it. Okay, so I come back over here in the sales order entry. Okay, and I come up, so let's go ahead and choose a ship zone so I get some freight in there so we can see what happens. So when I hit my check promotions, now this is what that MAS SCR debug flag does. Because I set that to 1, it'll bring this debug dialog up. And so this tells me that these are my amounts coming in. So I got $17.90 for non-taxable and 0 for taxable. I currently have a 0 discount rate and a freight amount of 3. And then it shows you my script, and then when I hit proceed, this is what happened when it's going to come back. So it says, hey, I passed, I'm over $1,000, so give myself a 10% discount. And but when I do that, there's my 10% discount, and my freight got zeroed out. So one thing you need to take a look at though is I've got my discount here, but the order total amount doesn't look like it got affected, so this still has that. And that's because the totals now get calculated when I actually go to the totals tab. So if I click on the lines tab, go back to the totals, now I've got the correct totals reflected. So in a little bit I'll show you how you can get around that as well and have that automatically happen. So anyway, that's just a quick demonstration of how to take some business rules, do a little promotion check, and give your customers a discount and free freight. But if we really want to take this a little deeper, what I've done is I've set up how you can make this a much richer application. So if I go down to Custom Office, UDT Maintenance, what I did is I set up this promotions table, and we won't spend the time showing how to set this up because we've gone through setting up UDTs, but it's essentially just 5 columns here. And my promotion codes, I'm making those go based on month and customer type. So A1, A2, and A3 are customer types in the customer table, and then June is just a month. And then I give it a description, and then I say, okay, for June, for an A1 type customer, if they've got an order over $1,000, we're going to give them free shipping and a 10% discount. For a A2 customer, anybody over 500 gets free shipping, and then they get a 15%, and so forth on down the line. So this is just a little promotions table that we can set up, and these can be maintained, you know, at any level. I just decided to do it for a month plus customer type. So went ahead and did that. Let's go into user find table maintenance, and I'll show you what else we got. So in accounts receivable, if I look at my customer master table, well, first off, actually, let's see. Yeah, let's go look at the customer. Oh, customer type is what I wanted to see. So customer type, oh, not that one. Sorry, I do want to look at customer master. So if we take a look here, I've added this promotion code, and it's validating against that table. So, and then that's going to, if I take a look at this order discount amount field, that's coming in from the promotion table. So essentially what's happening here is my customer table has a promotion code associated with it that I have another script to automatically apply, and I'll show you that. But when I set that promotion code, it's going to take whatever that order discount amount is for that promotion code and bring it into the customer table. Okay, and so then what we do with that is when we get into sales order, we flow those same information into the sales order table. Okay, so if I take a look at my sales order header, just to kind of demonstrate what I'm talking about here. I've added these free ship amounts, order discount amount, and order discount percentages to the sales order header. Now these are all sourced from the customer table. So essentially what happens here is we've got a promotions table that we're going to flow into the customer table, and then when I enter that customer onto a sales order, we're going to bring that information into the sales order header. Then what we're going to do is use these values rather than having a hard-coded, like we did in that first example, rather than have a hard-coded calculation, we're going to do it based on the values that are coming for that given promotion code for that customer. Okay, so hopefully that all makes sense. So what we can do now is go back into sales order entry. Close this down. And we'll go ahead and Control F9. Panel map, go over to my totals panel. And we're going to take this promotions button, and I've already got this script set up, so I'm going to go ahead and this is called the Insight script. And let's just take a quick look at this here. Okay, so in this particular script, what we're still dealing with the discount rate and freight amount, non-taxable and taxable, but I'm also bringing in the UDF free ship amount, discount amount, and discount percentage. Okay, so you know what, I'm going to bring this up in Notepad. It's a little easier to see. So anyway, these are the three new variables that we're using, and I'll have to go back into the button and define that I want to put those in. I'll show you what I'm talking about there. But so what this script is going to do is say, if I have a free shipping amount, because it's quite possible that any given customer does not have one of these. So if it's greater than 0, then go ahead and do this calculation. If I don't do that, then everybody's going to get free shipping, even if they don't have one of these free ship amounts, right? Because the non-taxable taxable is always going to be greater than 0. So you want to make sure that ship amount is actually greater than 0. So then what I'm doing is saying if the taxable amount plus the non-taxable amount is greater than the free ship amount, then the freight amount is going to be 0.0001. And once again, that's just to make sure that the customizer sets that value back to 0. And then what I'm also doing is setting this promotion text field that I've added to another user-defined field to the sales order header, saying, you know, free shipping on orders over, and I'm formatting this field into a currency. And all this information, by the way, is out on Microsoft Script Reference, and I'll show you how to go find that in a second. And then I just set a little flag here that I've got at least one. Well, actually, I don't need that anymore. That was from Legacy, not Legacy, from the previous try. But anyway, this MAS is going to go ahead and tell my script to actually recalculate the totals, and I'll show you what that does in a second. So that's the first part of that script. So just kind of a review, we're looking if we have a free ship amount and my taxable and non-taxable is greater than that amount, set the freight to 0 and set this text to say I'm giving you free shipping. And then down on the second portion of the script, we're also checking to say, do I have an order discount amount that's greater than 0? Same principle. And then if the taxable plus non-taxable is greater than that, go ahead and set the rate equal to the rate from the sales order that actually came from the customer. And then also set some promotion text for saying that we're giving you X% off orders over the amount. And then once again, that I only did one of these. It may set it up so we're only giving discounts and no free shipping or shipping discounts. Right? And then finally, I'd say if they're both 0, I set this other system flag called MAS200, and that'll tell customizer to not set any values back in. And we're also setting a message, and this will display a message box saying no options to apply. So if they hit the button and nothing happens, so maybe I've got somebody, customer type 5, that doesn't have any things, and they hit the button, you don't want to just nothing happens. So we, by setting this message, it tells the customizer to display that coming out of the script. And that's very handy for, you know, when we're talking about you know, running script on the server or client, regardless of whether the script is running on the server or not. So that's just something to keep in mind. Okay, so that's what we got for our script. Let's go back into this button here, and what we have to do is a few more things. I have to add a few more fields. So we need the free ship amount, the discount percentage, promotion text 1 and promotion text 2. And we also want to return those two guys. Okay, so hopefully that's clear. So we're using these to do our calculation in conjunction with these amounts, which, keep in mind, are really coming from, they originate in that user-defined table or type. Those will be populated in, and I'll show you a little script to how to populate all of those. And we're using those to do the calculation. Then we're returning back the discount rate, the freight amount, and the text of these guys. So let's go ahead and run one of these now. Actually, make sure I did one last thing. Yes, okay. So this is still pointing to my old script. So what I really want to do is set it to insights.txt. Okay, so now let's go ahead and run this. Before I do that, actually, let's go ahead and show you this StripUtil perform. So all I have here is a couple couple of routines. One is called post load P lines, which I'm not actually using. This is the one I'm actually calling. So if you remember, if we go back to take a look at insights.txt, where I set this MAS200 PFM, I set it to this file and this label. So really what's happening is saying when I'm done with this script, go ahead and execute this code. So from this particular text file, execute that label. And that is this label right here. So really all it's going to tell me to do is post load P totals, which happens to be a method that calculates our totals. So that's how we're going to get those totals to fire on. Okay, so let's go ahead and run this and see what we got. And we'll give it a freight. Okay, so now when I hit my check promotions, there's my debug. Here's what's coming back. I got my discount rate at 12. I'm giving me 0. It says free shipping on orders over $500, 12% off orders over $750, because that's what he was for. And so now we got the information populated on my sales order. Okay, and you'll notice also that the total is recalculated this time. Didn't have to go back to lines of total. That's what we're just talking about with that last MAS200_PFM. So now what I'm going to let's go over to Library Master. We're going to hit Report Manager, and I'm going to go into Sales Order Forms. Sales order printing. I'm going to do this for all companies and all codes. And I'm going to call this default sales order. So what's happening here is I'm just establishing a setting. So what that's saying, for regardless, not actually a setting, a modification to a crystal form. So I'm saying I want this particular crystal RPT to apply to all form codes in all companies. And what I'm going to do here is hit the design button. I'm going to do the plain paper one. And that brings up my my crystal form. Okay, so that's my current sales order header. Oh, one thing I forgot to show you. Sorry. Let's jump back into user-defined field maintenance. I'd already set this up, but in order to get something to print on a sales order form, you need to add it to the work table that's associated with that form. So if I look at sales orders, so the sales order work, any of these files here that you see that end with work are crystal work tables used to print a report or a form. So I had already gone ahead and edited it, so maybe I haven't. So what I need to do is add the promo text. Promo text 1. And we'll add another called promo text 2. Okay, so basically what I did there is I added 2 user-defined fields to the work table and told them where they're coming from, which in this case is the sales order header, those promotion text fields that we just populated with that script. Okay, so now if I come over here, the columns that are in here are the columns that are defaulted by when we ship the product out. And this information is actually stored in the Crystal RPT. So the first thing you have to do is come into your database and hit the verify database, which asks you for a login prompt. And now that refreshes the text fields. So I'm certainly no Crystal expert, but we'll go ahead and shove these down here somewhere. Okay, we're going to go ahead and save that, and let's go run it. So if I was to, let's see, where are we? Let's go back into sales order entry. Okay, this is our guy, so let's go ahead and hit the quick print button, do a preview, and it should be on the bottom of our form. There you go. So now you've got a user-defined table information that you can have your user maintain. It's not like you've hard-coded that anywhere. They can change that as they want to. It defaults into the customer based on their promotion code. And then that flows through the sales order, and then we use that information in the script to figure out the promotion and actually get that into a UDF with some text that you can then print on your sales order. So that's what we've got so far. Now let me show you another script that we've done to actually apply our promotion codes. So what I've done here is I've already set this script up. This says promotion apply. So let's go ahead and get into Customizer and take a look at this. So if I double click on this button here, this is also, I'm going to go ahead and bring this up in Notepad as well. So this is the cust promo apply script. And now this uses the business object interface, and I will put a big caveat here that this is not a replacement for the business object interface course. You really do need to take that and get certified on it if you want to get any type of support on it. I just want to give you some ideas of what you can do with the business object interface. So first thing I do here is I use this input box command, which is in VBScript, that says, give me a month that you want to apply. So remember, when we set up the promotion codes, we went with a month plus the customer type. So I'm basically just asking the user, which month do you want to apply this to? So this would be something they might do once a month. Say, okay, time to apply the new promotion code to customers. So in order to, and that's what allows access to all of our business objects within the business framework. There's some things you have to do, like initialize the scripting engine, or sorry, the provided script object to know which installation you're pointing to. HWD directory that comes in, which is the home working directory, is a nice way to do that with the init method. There's other techniques for doing that as well if you want to run these scripts outside of Customizer. Then I need a session object, and I need to do a logon. So something to keep in mind is this logon, the technique I'm using here is only going to work if you've got no security or if you're using Windows authentication. If you're using kind of a name password inside of MAS200, you're going to have to prompt them for a user and password, or come up with some other technique. So the current company I'm in, because really this is running in a different memory process base. It's not sharing anything with the currently running task, although we give you this information passed in so you know which company to set it to. Then what I want to do is make sure you have access, that the current user has access to customer maintenance, and that they have write access. And that's what this is doing here. We're establishing security rights. And then here, I'm getting a handle, an object handle, to the customer business object. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to, this while wind is a looping construct that goes through the entire file. So I say, while I'm not at the end of the file, do a move next. So move next just basically browses. You can think of it if you're hitting on the customer, if you're on the customer screen, hitting that next button. That's what move next does. Shove it into this value here, cust type. Now up here you'll notice I have to initialize cust type to quote to let it know that it's a string as opposed to numeric. So that's what this does here. And so what's going to happen is I'm going to get the customer type value from the customer table, and I'm going to use that to set my promotion. So I do a get value on customer type and then set value on promotion code with the month that was typed in up above on that input box plus the customer type. And then I do a write. That just loops through the entire customer table. It updates all those guys. And then we go ahead and do a drop object, a cleanup, and clean up our stuff. Then I give you a little message box at the end saying it's complete. So let's go ahead and run this guy. So if I come back over here into customer maintenance, actually let's shut him down. If I go to my additional tab, right now I'm on the May sale-a-thon, so let's just say I'm getting ready to go into June. So I'm going to go ahead and hit this button. First thing it's going to say is ask me for a month. I type in June, and it's complete. Now I'm still on this particular record, but if I browse off to it, you see he went to June, and so did he. So now we've got all these guys. Here's one that's customer type A6, which I had no promotion code for, so he has really no discount. So if I was going to do a sales order and check promotion for this particular customer, I'd get a message saying not available. So anyway, hopefully that gives you an idea of some of the things you can do with business object interface scripting, user-defined tables, user-defined. So that concludes this portion of the demo. We'll do another short one to cover some more scripting in just a second.